So tell me what we're doing here today.
Well, you know, it's a time of year where a lot of different faith traditions honor the dead, and it's also because we're just before the holidays. It's a time that can be particularly difficult for people. So we started this service last year. This would be our second annual service of Remembrance, and we invite all of the families that we've served in the last year by way of a mailed invitation. We also run an ad in most of the local papers where we invite people, regardless of whether their loved one passed away in the last year or regardless of whether we were the firm that served them, to participate in the service by having their loved one's name entered in our Book of Remembrance. We also have a memorial bell. There's a little more significance about that in the service, but they're given a bell with their loved one's name on a parchment that can be used. They can keep that. They can use it as an ornament on a Christmas tree. You know, it's really just a way for us to help memorialize their loved one, and also an opportunity for people to gather. In some cases, the death is fairly recent, in the last couple of months. For others, it's been a year or so. So we feel like it's a nice opportunity for people to gather, to remember, to sort of be consoled by gathering with other people who've gone through a death.
How does this ceremony or this service today, how does it fit in with Central Funeral's vision of how you serve others?
Well, you know, I think we like to think that our relationship with people, the service that we offer, doesn't end at the time of the funeral, that we remain available, we remain concerned. We also distribute some grief support information. Hope for the Holidays is a pamphlet that we distribute, as well as some grief support resources. So it's just a way for us to let people know that we're not just business people, but that we're part of the community and concerned about their well-being. Good afternoon. Welcome. It feels a little like church because the front row is empty. My name is Bob Monahan. I'm funeral director here at Central Chapel. And I'd like to take a moment this afternoon to welcome you on behalf of our staff. You know, we're really honored to serve people as we do, and we're really humbled to have this event today. Even as I walked in here and have been busy with other things when many of you arrived, to look out here and to look into your faces and to remember the occasions that drew us together, and to know that we continue to be concerned about you and that you continue to honor your loved one's memory is very humbling to us. I want to acknowledge today we're very grateful to have John and Sue O'Keefe here with their musical ministry. They are the co-directors of music at St. Symphosa Church, which is just a few blocks away. Also, Tim Haddock of the Southwest Chicago Post, which is an online newspaper in our community here that's really focused on the betterment and building up of our community. And so we're really honored that he would see fit to want to record this ceremony today. I'd like to take just a minute to introduce the members of our staff, some of whom you may know or have interacted with, and some of whom you may not have. To your right, Art DePesa. Art has lived in this neighborhood for 40 years, which I think means he must have been born here in the neighborhood. Art is a family care counselor. We also use the word ambassador here. Works a lot of our visitations, knows a lot of people in the community. He worked for a number of years at Blake Lamb Funeral Home on 63rd Street, so we're really pleased that he's here with us. Next to Art is Ruben Alanis, who is also a family care counselor. Ruben is a jack of all trades to us here. He helps us in a lot of ways, visible and invisible. Ruben used to work for the Del Camo Funeral Home in Bridgeport, so I try as hard as I can to take good people away from other funeral homes and bring them here, so I'm happy that Ruben is here. On your far left is Jim Sheehy. Jim's family has been in the funeral business for 99 years. He and his brothers used to own a funeral home together in Palos Heights, which they sold, and his brothers left the funeral business, but we managed to keep Jim here with us. So if you've had a funeral with us, Jim usually works those funerals with me, so we're really pleased that Jim's part of our team. Michelle Johnson is our family support coordinator, and she works primarily at our office downtown, which is how some of you folks interacted with us based on our office on Michigan Avenue. Michelle Johnson does a lot of advanced planning work with people that want to prearrange their funerals. She does some grief support work, and she also owns her own company, which is called Loving Memorial Pet Care, which assists people who've had the death of a pet in their family. Michelle has a little reflection coming up in just a few minutes, but we're really happy to have Michelle part of our team. And last, and certainly by no means least, is Ann Jadlowski. Ann is our office manager here at Central. If you've had any kind of interaction with our funeral home here, you've dealt with Ann. Ann worked for 30 years at Rush University Medical Center. I think she went to work there in about second grade or something. And I was just pleased to make Ann's acquaintance right after I bought this funeral home in December of 2010, and she works with us. I often say she's both the brains and the soul of our funeral home here, so I'm very pleased that Ann is part of our staff. And now, Michelle Johnson is going to talk to us a little bit about how bells help us remember.
You forgot Lily.
Oh, our grief counselor, Lily.
Did you want to say something about him?
Oh, gosh. I do. Patty Brzezinyak, sorry. I only forgot Patty because she volunteered to stay in the lobby in case somebody came in late for the service. Patty works here for us. Patty works in the office on weekends. Patty works a lot of our wakes here. Patty also worked for many years for the McEwen Funeral Home in Bridgeport, still helps them from time to time. So Patty's another person we were able to recruit from one of our friends and colleagues. So Patty, thank you very much.
Today, I think everyone, except for just maybe the two people that came in, did everyone get a bell today that came in? Jim is getting you a bell right now. We're ringing bells in honor of those who lit up our homes with their love, our workplaces maybe with their talents, our community with their service, and our nation with their loyalty, our world with their contributions. But most important to us, they lit up our lives. Whoops.
That was quick. Good hand.
Good catch, yeah. They lit up our lives with their unique light. Little history of bells. They've been a part of cherished memories that we've shared for many years. They were used as early as 2000 BC in China. People from the Orient, Europe, here, everywhere, hold bells in a place of reverence. We've chosen bells because they call us together with our loved ones in times of crisis, to help one another, and in times of triumph to celebrate. In fact, bells have probably become such a part of our lives that we seldom notice that they're even ringing. For example, do you remember, like some of you may remember, the old alarm clock with the two bells on the top? It was a startling clang, awakened you to a fresh new day. You opened your eyes, you rolled over, and you looked into the face maybe of somebody that you loved. A little red schoolhouse, going to the school, they hear the bells ringing, take off running, got to get there on time, maybe the end of recess, which was my favorite. When you're in high school, there's classes all around, and you're goofing off between classes, you hear the bells, they sometimes give you a little warning, you run. Or maybe the fire alarm. Who didn't know somebody that had some fun with the fire alarm bell? When you're at home, the noise of a doorbell, we don't even think. The doorbell rings. There's always good news usually coming from that. Maybe something from UPS or a neighbor with good news, a Girl Scout. The ding-dong of our doorbell at home often brings us a reminder of something. When there's a wedding, there's excitement in the air. Everyone's in beautiful dresses and tuxedos. Faces are brimming with joy. And a bell announces a new couple as they are joining as one. Maybe if you had a pet, like Lily or a kitty cat, you might have a cat collar, has a bell, and that's a big help to a bird. So if you lived on a farm, you maybe had a cow that had a big bell on it. There's poems written about bells, The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe, who didn't have to study that, or For Whom the Bell Tolls by John Milton. Of course, there's a couple of great songs. There's many more now, but the ones, because I'm kind of old, remember the Gypsy Rose, with ring on her fingers and bells on her toes. Has anybody seen my sweet Gypsy Rose? Or what about the bells are ringing for me and my gal? Good join me. How about the movies? Bing Crosby, The Bells of St. Mary, maybe at a basketball game, if you were in sports, there's all kinds of bells that have to do with sports, the team's tied, going into half, tensions in the air, bell rings, you've either won or lost, or jumping and hugging, or crying and sighing, new baby in the family. Every relative's coming in from out of town, the baby has a little bell, a little rattle. Baptism at church, bells ring to signify a new life. Someone you love has began an eternal journey, and the family gathers to comfort one another. Lots of socializing and talking here during the visitation. The next day, you proceed on maybe to a service, either here or at your church. And of course, the church bell rings again to herald the passing of someone into eternal life. So as each time we ring these bells today, and wherever you hear a bell tinkle from now on, you might remember that scene from It's a Wonderful Life. This is my favorite, where Clarence says, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. So let bells help you remember your loved ones and that they have started on a wonderful journey, and that one day we will be there as well.
Feel his mighty power and his grace. I can hear the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. There's a holy hush around us as God's glory fills this place. I've touched the hem of his garment. I can almost see his face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of his joy. I know without a doubt I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
I'd like to share just a couple of thoughts with you this afternoon. It says on the program that this is a reflection that I'm going to give. I think there's a difference between a reflection and a sermon. I think the difference is probably about maybe 15 minutes or so. But I just want to say a couple of things to you folks, and some of you have heard me say this before, but this is sort of my unsolicited advice to people who grieve. And the first I'm reminded of when I was a child in school, when we would get our report cards, one of the things that we got evaluated on was one's ability, how well one could work at their own pace. They would say, did I get an A or a B or a C or a D or an F on my ability to work at my own pace. Now, I'd rather really not divulge what grade I got on that, but I think it's important that when you're dealing with the death of someone that you cherish, to be able to stand in your own ability to work at your own pace. And there are a lot of things in our world and in our culture and in our country that don't support our ability to work at our own pace when we grieve. Jim Sheehy and I were coming back from a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and I offered to treat him to a fine dining experience. And so we drove into this lane, and I talked into a clown, and I ordered 2 quarter pounders with cheese, supersized the fries and the beverage, and within 60 seconds, somebody tossed that in my lap. I mean, that's how fast our culture is. People have funerals here, and people come and they tell them, if there's anything you need, let me know. And then A few days later, they go back to work. And the people that they work with are tiptoeing around them and trying to be nice because they know that they've gone through something terrible. And if you don't kind of snap back into who you used to be, maybe within, I don't know how long, you can fill in the blank, somebody's going to tell you that you have to get over it. Somebody's going to have to tell you that you have to get on with your life. I'm here today to tell you, and I appreciate that you didn't ask me, but don't let people tell you the pace that you have to work at. You've been through something very difficult. In some cases, some of you have been through horrific tragedies. You have to work through that at your own pace. I also don't think we ever, and I don't mean this as a pessimistic thing, I don't think we ever really get over something really painful. I just think we learn how to continue to grow and to thrive and to live. So my suggestion is to give yourself permission to work at your own pace.
Is that they would want you to continue to live and thrive. They probably want you to miss them in all the old familiar places, but they would want you, even at your own pace of grieving, however you need to do that, but they would want you to live. They would want you to thrive. They would want you to laugh again. They would want you to live your life as though their light was still shining through you.
You can kindly ring your bell after each name if you would like.
Or particularly after the name of your own loved one, sure.
I'm going to start with Helen Acevedo, Joe Acevedo Sr., Judith Acevedo, Jaya Acevedo, Roy Acevedo, Vincent Almanza, Socorro Arlano, Valerio Arlano, Dorothy Argabright, Bernardo Arroyo, Kathleen Arvitas, George Athanas, Laura Atwood, Gerald Avery, Nanette Ayala, Esmeralda Barajas, Lorraine Bargin, Lee Beach, Margaret Beam, Roberta Bloodsaw, Corinne Borgia.
Hugh Bridges, Deanna Brody, James Brown, Donald Bucato, Dora Campbell, Emmanuel Cantu, Linda Carrig, John Case, Gwendolyn Casey, Rita Cernica, James Chapin, Joseph Chen, Andrew Cesaric, Freddie Clay, Emily Coleman, Reuben Kalunga, Debbie Connelly, Mary Helen Connolly, Beatrice Contreras, Hector Cruz Jr., Thomas DeMayo.
Frank Deslich, Helga Donnelly, Marion Elliott, Dorothy Engelhop, Eta Erdogo, again, I apologize for that one, Jose Escobar, Francisco Espinoza, Severa Estrada, Bernadine Felby, Sean Feely, Lawrence Flood, Louis Bonte, Leonard Foster, Isabel Franco, Elizabeth Galvin, Arturo Gomez, Edward Ganta, H. Leona Glenn, Kathleen Gadadic, Jesus Gonzalez, Raimundo Gutierrez,
Robert Hensel, Josefa Hernandez, Anita Hirsch, John Hisson, Church Hirsch, Susan Houston, Marcel Hernicki, Roberto Iniguez, Robert Yesekis, Bonnie Johnson, Lester Johnson, Calvin Jones, Bernice Callis, Catherine Kelly, Lily Kiashian, George Klein, Genevieve Plekow, Mary Corwell, Catherine Kralitz, Nipa Kamwan, Christine Liba.
Allegra Liza, Harold Lloyd, Nancy Loftus, Frank Lovejoy, Ephraim Madrigal, Gerald Mahan, Marco Mellos, Paul Martin, Pauline Matulkas, Marie McDermott, Genevieve McGurvin, Paul McGrath, Maurice McCaffrey, Carolyn McKittrick, John McNichols, Olga Malicio, Horatio Mendoza, Mary Ellen Mendoza, Ralphie Mendoza, Arthur Niphow, Bernice Makaitis.
Catherine Milan, Ann Miller, Barney Miller, Maud Miner, Joseph Molnar, Socorro Montez, Dolores Morgan, Randa Mwasher, Sean Murphy, Joseph Naminsky Sr., DeAndre Norfleet, Ann Lindsay, Kevin O'Donnell, Pamela Osgood, Raymond Palmer, Jack Parker, Mervyn Taylor, James Portway, Edward Potter, Ted Prando, Virginia Perlatsky.
Juan Quintanilla, Jose Ramirez, Maria Ramirez, Virginia Ramirez, Shantae Reeves, Gerald Reedy, Elizabeth Riley, Manuela Resendez, Ralph Rocco, Larry Rosenthal, Therese Rosinski, Randall Rowe, Juan Rubio, Maria Sanchez, Sarah Chancellor, Jose Sandoval, Julie Sanchez, Carl Michael Scheftor, Gregory Seidel, William Shortall, Robert Simmons.
Julia Simon, Richard Simpson, Shirley Stern, Elvia Stonson, Susan Stossel, Anthony Suarez, Marilyn Swanson, Arlene Swinbank, Juan Kijeda, Douglas Thomas, Susan Thomas, Mary Judith Traber, Carol Vack, Maria Velazquez, Douglas Doyle, Patricia Wallow, Ernest Webster, Richard Werzigan, Dagmar Weinberg, Terrence Wolofsky, James Williams.
Lawrence Williams, Terry Woods, Ralph Yachman, Stella Zambera, George Semenkis, Mary Zick.